was ready for this movie now in a way that it wouldn't have been 15 years ago?
I don't know, Anne. I don't know. But as those 15 years go on, you see more and more in the worst case scenario news that kind of resonates, this film resonates with. When we first did this 15 years before, I'd never heard the term water wars, but it was in about 2005, I think. I was in India, and they were talking about water wars that they were fighting up in Kashmir, and I thought, wow, that's there in our story, and that was amplified a little bit more. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the time, sometimes the way Hollywood works, well, there's several factors here. One is that this is really an independent film. You own the rights to this movie, right? The franchise.
Yes.
How is that possible that you own the franchise?
Because when we first made the first movie, it was purely independently financed. Byron Kennedy and I went out, and it took us 18 months to raise 350,000 Australian dollars, and that gave us the independence. That was because we couldn't get it financed through the normal government funding bodies. It wasn't the kind of film that they were funding at that point, and that gave us that independence, which was great.
And you had it here too.
Sorry?
That independence.
Yeah.
Still,
yeah.
even if Warner Brothers paid for the movie.
Yeah.
And I just think you broke all sorts of rules in the way that you did this, but sometimes movies have an organic life of their own and come into being when they're supposed to. I just believe that.
I think so. I just know that had we made this movie 10 years before, it would have had a different cast. It would have had
an older Mel.
An older Mel. It would have had the cameras. The movie would not have been as kinetic. We didn't really have things like the edge arm, which we could get our cameras right in there, and so quickly and so mobile and with such skill. The cameras weren't small enough. It would have been a different movie. And even stereo, which 3D, the conversion, the post-conversion, wasn't nearly at the level it is now.
So you've said that you did compose it. I mean, you shot it in regular. It wasn't shot with 3D cameras, but you composed it knowing it would be in 3D.
Yes, I'm one of those who believe fairly firmly that you don't shoot for 3D, and naturally, in the way that I've always shot these action movies, it's kind of a kind of erstwhile 3D in that it's very wide-angle lenses, moving through space along the Z or Z axis. So it's 2D kind of masquerading as 3D. So you don't really make any adjustments. There are moments where you think you would do some design or create shots that might be strictly 3D, but basically it was cut as 2D, and that's exactly the same cut that it would be 3D.
So they do 3D very well now, but I saw it in 3 different ways. First at Cannes.
Yeah.
I saw it in a screening room with extraordinary sound, Dolby sound, immersive sound, and I saw it in 3D in a theater, and I prefer 2D, I think.
Yes.
What do you prefer?
Well, to be perfectly honest, my preference is 3D, except I've never seen the full 3D movie beginning to end in a proper cinema.
There's a kind of juddering at the beginning.
Oh, that shouldn't be there. that shouldn't be there. That might have been in your glasses. I don't know what that would be. That's not meant to be there. The thing that, the final thing that I did on this movie was spend up to 20 hours a day being obsessed by eye scan in 3D, because it's very difficult. A lot of people, we all know people who can't tolerate 3D, and that's because in many ways we're asking the human eye to do something that we don't do naturally, and that is force, where we're looking in space. You and I can look across a two-dimensional space. I can look at that, or I can look at that, or I can look at you. I make that choice, but we can. Eye scan is something we can, to some degree, control in the cutting room if you're mindful of it. But for me to look from the camera to you back there, I can't force that. If I am, then you're basically hurting your eyes and forcing your brain to do something. So I spent a lot of time doing that to make it as creamy as possible. In some cases, some of the action scenes, because you get that extra information about space, are better in stereo 3D than they are in two-dimensional space. But the reason they asked me at the Cannes screening, you want 2D or 3D? I thought, well, the film is a kind of a Western on wheels. We're used to seeing Westerns, on 2D. I don't even know if there was ever a 3D Western. And I thought, no, we'll do it in 2D because it plays really well in 2D.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah,
It was stunning.
Yeah, so. But I'm a big fan of 3D too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.